Welcome to the Art of Adventure. This is 5 Minute Friday, and this is the story and what I learned from getting caught in a snowstorm when things could have gone seriously wrong. All right, here's the situation. The sun has just set. It's a snowstorm. I'm at 10,000 feet. It's getting dark. The snow is sticking to my skis. I don't have a map of where I am, and I'm still several miles from the fire tower that I'm supposed to stay in for the night. We're in the middle of the Montana wilderness, and we have just dug ourselves out of another hole because we've fallen off the trail into neck-deep snow. So this is the story of how I got caught in a snowstorm and what I learned from that experience. So this was about 10 years ago in Montana, and I was with my ex at the time. And the reason we were caught in this predicament in the first place is through largely a comedy of errors. They say accidents don't happen because just one little mistake happens, but it's usually a series of little mistakes that lead to a big catastrophe. And we were very close to a big catastrophe. Obviously, I'm still alive. I'm still here to tell you the story, but there were times when I wasn't sure what was going to happen. So to start things off, we had to drive a couple hours out of town, out of Bozeman, into the mountains to find the trailhead. And we had rented backcountry touring skis from this local rental shop. And when we got to the trailhead, already 2 hours out of town, we found they had given us two right boots. And it was far too late to go back into town and come back out to the trailhead and actually make it to the fire tower. And I believe this was Valentine's weekend or something like that. So we were committed, we were gonna make it to that fire tower. So we decided to go ahead with the mismatched shoes. And we were there with another couple, and they were gonna go straight up the side of the mountain, which was like 5 miles straight up. And we were gonna take the long 15-mile way around on the fire roads, which were converted to basically to ski trails in the winter. And everything starts off great. We spend the first couple miles together. They split off, and they're going to ski straight up the side of the mountain. And we're continuing on the trail. So it's just two of us. And snow's gliding well. But when you are in shape, when you are a seasoned outdoor person, sometimes you overestimate your abilities and you don't come prepared. So that's one of the mottos of the Boy Scout. It is the motto of the Boy Scouts, to be prepared. And as a Boy Scout, I was not prepared. We didn't have a map. We had the wrong equipment, obviously. And I far overestimated our ability to make it to the top. So 15 miles, I thought, sometimes I can ski up to 10 miles an hour. So this is a little uphill. So I'm going to estimate 3 to 4 hours with breaks to make it up there. After about 6 hours of skiing uphill, we were halfway there. And I realized, and that's when the sun started to set, it started to snow, and I realized I had far overestimated how difficult this ski into this fire hut was going to be. And we also knew that the fire road was going to end, and we were going to have to do the last 3 miles basically across open terrain to get to this fire tower. So this perfect storm of bad things started happening. One, the snow, because it was coming down, it creates this kind of a warming in the air as the heat leaves the snowflakes. It warms the air, and it was causing our skis to become sticky with snow. And all of a sudden, the skis each weigh 30 pounds with snow. So we had to take off the skis, and we were testing just walking along the snow, but we were collapsing in the snow. So we put back on the skis. There was really no good solution. And all of a sudden, we slowed down to 1 mile an hour, and so the sun is setting, so we can't see the trail anymore. And pretty soon we get to the place where the trail is finished. So there's luckily some snowmobilers had gone and packed down the surface of the snow, a week or a day prior. So if we stayed within this narrow sort of 3 foot wide path, we wouldn't collapse down into the snow. But if we took one step off, we fall down into this deep, deep powder. which is exhausting. You have to build, you have to like claw your way out. You have to build a set of stairs with your skis to get out. And if you're doing that, you spend 10 minutes digging yourself out, and you can go just, 5 meters at a time, and you might fall in again. So it's very treacherous. And because it's dark and because we didn't have a map, things were getting really dicey. So here's what was going through my head at the time. Whenever I would think about getting stuck out there, okay, maybe I could build a snow cave, or maybe I could just wait it out until morning, or what happens if, somebody gets injured, or what happens if we run out of food and water. All these things were going through my mind, and I would start to get worried whenever that would happen. So I forced myself to not worry about that. I said, we're just gonna, use the water and the food that we have. We also had no food with us because the other couple had taken all the food. We just had, a couple snacks left from our lunch. So we didn't have any fuel or anything like that because we expected to be there quite quickly. Again, series of errors, but it was really, it helped showcase my own thought patterns when I'm in a really treacherous situation. And I often refer back to these thought patterns when I'm testing myself and taking a risk, whether that's in business or socially or other times. I'm thinking back to what worked for me in these really tough, physical, challenging situations. Now, I knew that I was fit. I was well-trained. I'm an athlete. So I was confident that my body could keep going as long as I managed my energy well and kept a positive attitude and all those things. So I was consciously directing my thoughts and keeping myself in the present moment. And that really was just one foot in front of the other, trying to stay on this little trail. Now, we did, on the way out, we downloaded this app that sort of had a GPS series of trails. And we found that the snowmobile trail was roughly matching a GPS trail on this map. But because we'd been out so long, our phones were getting super low on battery, and the cold obviously drains them more. So what we would do is, in the dark, we would take out the phone, power it on really quick, see if we could figure out the next, quarter mile of trail. Say, I think it's up over that ridge there. And then we quickly power the phone back off, put it back in our jackets, put the gloves back on, right? Because each time you're losing heat with the gloves. And then we would poke our way along this trail. And sometimes, you can feel, right? If say you're walking along, a 3-foot wide sidewalk that drops off on both sides, and you're in the dark, and you're walking slow enough, you can tell when you get to the edge of the sidewalk, your feet will feel that it's going to collapse on the sides. So we were able to stay on the trail largely by going very slowly and just feeling our way along. But still, it was every 15 minutes we would fall off the trail and have to dig ourselves out, which is absolutely exhausting. If you've ever experienced falling in a tree well while you're skiing or anything like that. So finally we get, it's about 9 o'clock. It's been dark for several hours. It's, Montana in the winter gets dark at 3 or 4 or something like that. And we see this light across like 3 more mini peaks. And we know that that's the fire tower. And we can actually see our friends. They've got their headlamps on and they're searching, right? Because they're at the fire tower. They're trying to decide, should we go search for them? They have no idea what's happened to us because there's no phone service. We had no radio communication or anything like that. So they're doing the right thing. They're staying put, right? They got a fire, they got warm drinks for us whenever we're going to arrive. They don't know if it's going to be 9 p.m. or midnight or 3 a.m, or if they're going to find us frozen solid the next morning when they go out. So, there's not much they can do other than like providing this beacon for us. And luckily we saw it. And so for the last maybe 1 hour, right? It's so tantalizingly close when you can see your salvation, and all you have to do is cross this 1 mile of peaks to get to them. But the wind is starting to pick up. It's really, really blowing, probably 40, 50 miles an hour over the cross. It's blowing snow. We're having a tough time seeing. We didn't have any eye protection, and it's totally dark, right? So we're just using these tiny little headlamps. And these headlamps, they just really make you focus on what's right in front of you. So your thoughts are right there in the present. Your headlamp is just pointing in this little patch of snow right in front of you, and you're not worrying about all of the things that could go wrong. You're not worrying about your past. You eventually accept that you've made all these mistakes that have led you to this point where you're fighting for your survival. And it's just one foot in front of the other. And when I'm in situations where I'm feeling the same pressure, the same challenge, whether it's, trying to make it through immigration in a country where I don't speak the language, or whether I'm doing a big pitch, or I'm selling something, or any of these times when it's a high risk, high impact situation, I'm drawing on this experience to know how to manage my own energy, my own thoughts, not getting into fear. And this really builds my confidence. I'm also relying on the proof that I had of this situation, that I could rely on my physical body to get me through. At no point was I really worried that my body was going to break down, which is a huge benefit to confidence, knowing you're actually going to be able to make it through. The whole time, I'm aware that like people have died in situations like this, but I'm not really even thinking about that. I'm just thinking about getting to, because I still want to have a good Valentine's Day. I still want to get to this fire tower. I've actually brought along the board game Monopoly so that we can play. I'm still thinking a little bit about, what's my Monopoly strategy going to be. So this, while being something that could have killed us, because we were cooperating really well most of the time, we were able to keep going forwards. Now, when both of us got into a little bit of a drop in energy, we hadn't eaten for a while, we hadn't been drinking water, and we both at the same time started to get into the fear, right? We had both just fallen in the snow. That is when we started fighting. And I knew that, fighting and arguing and all these things would really destroy us. So starting from the basics, I made sure that we rested for a few minutes. We got to a place where we were cooperating again, and we went back to managing our water intake. We ate a little bit of sugar, like an energy gel or something like that. And I was able to reset our physiology so that we could focus back on moving down the path. And so, this is right by the time we get to, a quarter mile away, they can see our lights coming across the field. We can see them. We're hooting, they can't really hear us in the wind, but they know we're coming. So that last, 20 minutes there, you can imagine seeing like these two bedraggled skiers coming out of the darkness, out of the storm towards the fire tower. And here we are, we see this beacon. We know it's warm. We know they have beer waiting for us. All the good things are there. And it's just, we're not there yet. We just have, we're so exhausted, but we can see the end. And that's really dangerous when you feel done, when when the horse smells the barn and you want to just sprint for home, but we knew we couldn't sprint for half an hour just to get across these mountains. So we had to keep the same consistent. We had to keep the focus. Like we could have still fallen off the trail. And when we finally got there, the feeling was just like such immense relief and joy. And our friends, they brought us I believe salami and crackers and beer. And, as we were like peeling off of our snow clothes and getting our ski gear off, we were drinking beer, and it was just this amazing relief of the pressure of surviving this. So really, we spent about 6 hours in the dark surviving, and I don't know how close we really were to a dangerous situation. We were probably pretty close. But luckily, even though we weren't prepared, even though I wasn't prepared, I should have been, we were able to use what resources we had, the gear that we had, our physical and mental abilities that we had already brought to the situation. And because I was able to make it through that situation, it gave me so much more confidence for the other hard things that I do in my life, whether it's physical challenges, business challenges, relationship challenges. I know that I can get through these really hard things. And that was probably the most important lesson from this snowstorm, along with, of course, being prepared. Thank you so much for joining me in recounting that treacherous, harrowing story. I go through these experiences so that you can know what it's like without actually having to risk your life to go through them. And I want to tell you a little bit about the League of Superconductors. This is a small business mastermind that I'm running in 2020. And this is for thought leaders like coaches, authors, retreat hosts, podcasters, YouTubers, and the like. And one of the things that we work on is building this rock solid, unshakable confidence. You don't have to go on these extreme adventures to do that, but you do have to challenge yourself. You do have to find new ways to get outside your comfort zone so you can build confidence in your abilities in many different situations. And one of the things we work on is coming up with fun challenges. How are we going to get you outside your comfort zone? There's a saying, if you don't get outside your comfort zone, you won't get outside your comfort zone. It's sort of a catch-22. And to really move to the next level as a leader in business, you're going to have to move beyond what's comfortable. And this is both in your thoughts, in your physical abilities, in your business, so many different things. And we're going to be working on this part of the high performance mindset, among many other things, in the League of Superconductors. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, if you know that that is a skill that you really want to acquire, if you want to acquire this rock solid confidence so that you can share your mission, so that you can talk about your work, so that you can rock the boat, so that you can really create change on this planet, that's what the program is designed for. So you can check it out and apply at derekloudermilk.com. Under the coaching tab, there's a League of Superconductors section, and you can click to the application right there. All right, that is all for today. Thank you so much for listening. Now it's your turn to go out there and be adventurous.